Hello, guys. Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the continued video lesson of our Python series. So, I'm glad you all are here today to learn something new today. So, you all know the routine, what you have to do. Grab your notebooks. If you have the practice of writing notes, please do follow that. And feel free to grab a cup of coffee because you might be back from your college or your work. So, you'll be a bit tired. So, if you grab a coffee, you'll be feeling refreshed. So, before we jump to our video, who are we? We are Data Valley, the fastest growing edtech company of 2025. So, if you would like to know more about us, feel free to check out about us on the website. So, datavalley.ai. So, there you can find that what kind of support we can provide to you. So we provide support in IT solutions, trainings, and placements. So no matter at what point of career are you in, so we are here to help you. So if you just ring to our colleagues will be glad to help you with your progress. And then today we are covering up the seventh part of our continued Python interview series. And thank you all for the amazing response I've got till this point, which I didn't expect, but this has been very amazing. And if you like the video, feel free to drop your like. And if you have any questions, drop your questions in the comment section. I'll try to answer them either in this video or in the forthcoming videos. Feel free to share it with your friends as well who are aspiring to become, like a Python developer or a AI engineer. So these are the total basics or fundamentals that we are talking about. So you might be even a seasoned professional, but when you brush up your skills, you're going to be well known about all these kind of coding logics within your mind. Without further talk, let's start our Python series. So today we are going to discuss more about strings in Python. So we all would have heard about strings, isn't it? So what is a string? So you all know that strings like a kind of a data type, isn't it? So how do you define a string? So within a string, what are the different methods applicable? So these are the few chapters we are going to cover in today's session. So what is a string? A string is a fundamental data type used to represent a sequence of characters. So let's say you have a character. Okay, it can be a letter, it can be a number. Okay, let's not go deep. Let's start with basic. Let's say you have a character which is a letter. So while representing that in Python, you use a quotation mark to represent it, right? So that is what I mean by here. So it is a fundamental data type used to represent a sequence of characters. So it is not just a single character we are talking about, a continuous character. So one or more character is still a string. Okay. So these characters can include multiple data, like it can be a letter, it can be a numeric type, it can be a symbol, it can be emoji, and even a white space is part of a string. Okay. And how do you define your string? You define it within the quotes. So this is main important thing. So it's a sequence of characters, and this character can be anything, and you define these sequence of characters within a quotation mark. And talking about strings, strings are immutable. What is immutable? So mutable is where you can change, where you can alter. But string is immutable. That means you cannot change something. So it means that once you create it, the content cannot be directly modified. So if you want to create a change, create a new uh, variable and then then get the modified string in that, but you cannot perform an in place modification. Therefore strings are immutable. And strings support indexing and slicing. So indexing is a way how you access a particular element from your sequence of characters. And slicing is where you use the indexing or the index number to slice a part of the sequence. So you get the substring out of it. So that is the process of slicing. And using string, you can loop through the characters as well. So looping operation is applicable within a string. So a quick revision, it represents a character or a sequence of character, and a character can be anything like letter, numbers, symbols, ASCII characters, emojis, white space, and these characters are represented within a code. And these strings are immutable, which means you cannot change once you created them. You can use indexing to access the elements or slicing to get the substring out of your string, and you can also perform looping operation for your character. And then talking about how do you define within the codes. So these are the quotation marks, right? So it's a single line quotation mark, it's a double line quotation mark, it's a triple single line quotation mark, and it's a triple double line quotation mark. So these are different kinds of quotations that you can use within a string. Okay, now to our basics. How to create a string? You all know what is a string. So do you know how to create a string? Yes, it is very easier. So strings are defined by enclosing the sequence of character within quotation marks. Python allows for three types of quotation mark. So whenever you have to create a string, what you have to do? You gotta enclose them within a quotation mark. And talking about the three types of quotation mark, first we have got a single quote. So as you can see here, this is a single quote, right? So you have got one line, and then I can put anything there. So I can put my name, and then I'm closing it again with a single quotation mark. Then I've got double quote. So double quote is same as well, but just you have got double lines there. So it's the same as well. So I can just put my name, and it is still going to print the same to me. And then I've got triple quotes. And within triple quotes, you have two types. One is single line triple quote, and then you have double line triple quote. And you use triple quotes when you have to denote a multi-line string or doc string. So doc strings are nothing but a documentation strings. When do you use a documentation string? Let's say you're developing a Python application, or let's say you have developed some Python code. Okay, so within a class you'll be writing a lot of functions, and within the functions you'll be writing the code. So let's say you're handling these, you want to hand it over to me. Okay, you have developed some Python code or logic or application, and now you are handing it over to me. So I'm the new colleague there, or I'm replacing you, whatever. When I'm reading your code, what are the chances that I'll understand it perfectly? So you might be using different kinds of arguments, you'll be using different kind of parameters. Your logic or your way of getting through the code would be different. So how would I know that? So how would I know that what is your thought process, or how you came up with a certain logic or a solution? So you denote a triple doc string. Okay, this is a doc string, and within this you write that. So for example, you denote like add function, and then you say this function adds the numbers provided in the parameter, in the parameter, and then you write parameters, and then you write whatever parameters you're using. So number, so you will denote that the numbers to be added. So this is how you write your doc string, right? And then also sometimes you write your logics as well, how you are planning to perform this add function. Like let's say the user is passing it as a list or like a single argument. So for the existing number you want to add this number. So whatever it is, you define it within a doc string. So this is the main purpose of using a triple line, sorry, you use a triple quote. Okay, and now let's see few code examples so that it is better to understand. First, I've got two variables here, s1 and s2. So s1 has hello quoted with a single line, and s2 having world denoted with a double line. Okay, so this is a basic form of our single quote and double quote string. And now what I want to do is, okay, let's play with it. I'm creating a variable called name, and then I've got a double quoted string which says Alice. Then I've got a message, and then I've got a single quoted string hello world. And now when I print it, what does it print? It's printing Alice and hello world. So what quotation we use within the string doesn't matter. It matters only when, for example, let's say mm, Alice's brother is Frank. Okay, in this case I've used a single quote here, right? So when I print this makes sense because Alice's brother is Frank. And let's say I just want to use a single quote now. So if I'm using single quote now, it would throw out an error because this feels like a completed string, but from S to the brother is Frank, it is not enclosed. So there is going to be an error thrown out. So double quote in place when you're using a single quote within your string operation. So when I print this, it doesn't show up any error, and our our statements get printed properly. And if you notice, even if I use double quote or single quote, it doesn't get printed when I print the statement. So that is something you have to be aware about. And then I've got few multi-line string here. So s3 is equal to, this is a multi-line string that has single line quotes. And then I've got an s4, another variable that says another multi-line string that has double quoted triple quotes. So now when I try to print this off, you can see that this is a multi-line string, another multi-line string. So it has printed me everything, and it hasn't printed the quotations marked with it. So this is your single line quoted string and your double line and your triple line quoted string. And now let's talk about few of the string methods to start with our strings. First, I've got something called as lower method. So explain lower method of Python string. So talking about the lower method, the lower method in Python is a built-in string method used to convert all case-based characters within a string to their lowercase equivalents. So as the name suggests, okay, lower method. So if you pass a set of sequence of characters, so wherever you have your case-based characters, those are converted to their lowercase equivalents. So what do I mean by lowercase equivalents? For example, let's say I have a list, okay? A list with different letters to it. So I've got F R A N and K. That's perfect. So now I've got 6 small letters, isn't it? But this should be my output. What if I provide it with different so let's say I have another different input that says so in this case, wherever I have an uppercase, okay, these uppercase letters are going to be converted to its equivalent lower letter or small letter. So for F, what is the equivalent small letter? That is your small f. And for your R, the equivalent small letter is small r. A is not going to be changed because that is already in its lower form. For N, the lower form is N. So the capital N will be converted to a small letter N. And here it's already small letter, so it doesn't matter. What are the key characteristics of a lower method? The lower method will return a new string. So whenever you are trying to use a lower method, your original string in place is not modified. Instead, it will return a brand new string with all uppercase letters converted to lowercase. So when I pass my original string, the modifications that might happen in the string are not possible. Only a new string can be created out of my original string, and in that new string all my uppercase letters are converted to the lowercase. Case based characters only. What do I mean by case based characters? So talking about case, okay, what it refers to is uppercase or lowercase. So anything that is of uppercase are only impacted. Okay, wherever you have only the uppercase, those case based characters are affected, and wherever you have your lowercase, it is not affected. So it only affects the characters that have a defined uppercase and lowercase form. So for A, you have your defined lowercase as A, and for your capital B, you have your defined lowercase to be small letter b. All right, and then it ignores non-case characters. So talking about case, I said that we have two called as uppercase and lowercase. So what does it mean by it will ignore a non-case character? So talking about non-case character, it will ignore a symbol, number, an ASCII character. So for a numerical form, you wouldn't have any kind of small form, isn't it? So for number one, what is the equivalent small letter form? You don't have any, right? Only for alphabetics, you have your uppercase and your lowercase format. But for numerics, you don't have it. So for symbols, you don't have any uppercase or lowercase form. So for example, for a comma, you don't have your lowercase, right? For exclamation mark, you don't have your lowercase. For asterisk, you don't have any capital or your small letter form. So it will impact only the case characters and it will ignore any non-case characters. The lower method will not take in any arguments. So all you gotta do is you just have to use the lower method without passing any parameters. So in here I've created a string called as original string, which is quoted within a double string, and it says that hello world exclamation mark 123. And if you notice, W is capital and H is capital, right? So I've got two capital letters, and let's see what it prints when I print the original one. So original string goes like hello world with H and W capital form. And now what I'm doing, I'm passing it to a string or into a new variable called lowercase string is equal to original string dot lower method. So I'm using this lower method to my original string. So here is my original string. Do you understand why I'm doing that? The reason I'm doing that is because it doesn't support in place modification, or it doesn't allow me to alter my original string. Why is that? Because string data type is immutable. So all you got to do is create a new string if you want to have any kind of modifications. So I'm taking my original string, I'm performing lower method, and when I print it, now I can see that it is giving me the lower form of all my capital letters. So H has been converted to the lower form, capital W has been converted to the lower form W. So this is how we use our lower method. Let's talk about the common uses of lower method. Case insensitive comparisons. So when comparing user input or data that might have varying capitalization, converting both strings to lowercase ensures accurate comparisons. So what do I mean by that? Let's say I have a data set, okay? And now For the particular data set, if I'm asking if Frank is equal to Frank, are they saying no? Because we have used a different case sensitive letters. So F, R, A, and K is small letters here, and the F, R, A, and K I've gotten here is all capital. So to compare them appropriately, what you can do is you can convert both, right? So you can perform uh, an equivalency only when both are of a smaller case letter. So this will give you false, and this will give you true because they are not same, right? They are not same because it's of case sensitive, and that is why you gotta do this. And next, text normalization, standardizing text data to a consistent case for analysis or storage. So you have a data, it is good enough that you standardize your data. So what do I mean by text normalization or standardization? So you have, let's say you have a data, okay? You have your data set. Let's say it is having 100 names suggesting Frank. And if everything is of different format, okay? Let's say in one R is capital, the other one K is capital, and the other one all my name is capital, and the other one is, so when you try to compare it, it is going to be very inconsistent, and it is not good for your analysis. So you gotta normalize them or standardize them for your consistent analysis, searching and filtering, making searches more robust by matching regardless of case. I've got a good example here. So let's say you want to find Frank within a data set. Okay, you have your data set, and in the data set you have, and within the data set you have a different names. Okay, but they suggest the same name. So Frank with F capital. Okay, and in the next one I've got all my letters to be capital. So F, R, A, and K is all capital. And then I've got Frank with A and K as capital, and then I've got F as capital, A as capital, and K as capital. So in case if I want to find if there is any presence of Frank within the data set, and if all my data set is of inconsistent form, then I'm not going to find the exact results that I want. All right. So what you can do is, to this data set, okay, you can use a lower method. And when you use the lower method, all your inconsistent strings will be converted to its lowercase form. So Frank, so the uppercase Frank all gets converted to Frank here. So A and K here is capital, it will be converted to Frank again. So F or A and K with F, A, and K to be capital will be converted to the lowercase form. Therefore, all data has become normalized or standardized, and therefore helping us with our analysis, comparison, or search operation. So these are the common use case scenario for your lower method. And then I've got upper method for our Python string. So upper method is exactly opposite to our lower method. In lower method, what did we do? We converted all the uppercase letters to a lowercase letter. Similarly, in upper method, you convert all your lowercase letters to their corresponding uppercase equivalents. So if you have small letter E, you convert it to a capital letter E. If you have your lowercase letter L, you convert it to the equivalent capital letter L. What are the key characteristics? We all know that it returns a new string, right? Why is that? Because string is immutable, so you cannot expect to change your original string basically. So you have to return a new string, and because you will not be able to perform any modification in your original string. You will be returning a new string with all the applicable characters converted to its equivalent uppercase form. And then it converts only letters. What do I mean by it converts only letters? So whatever the alphabetic letters that you have, because for each alphabetical letter you have your uppercase format and your lowercase format. So any alphabetical characters that you have will be affected, but not the non-case letters or non-case characters like numbers, symbols, white spaces. So these kind of non-case characters remain unaffected or unchanged. And then if you wonder if you will be taking any parameters, no. So as in the lowercase method, you will not be taking any parameters. So you can just use the upper method straight away. In here, I've got a string called hello world 123 exclamation mark. So hello is capital, and in this W is capital. Rest everything is lowercase, and I've got numeric form 123 and a symbol exclamation mark. As I cannot perform in place modification, I am passing that to another string called uppercase string, and then I'm using my upper method here. So let's see what will happen if I use upper method here. And when I print it, you can see that all my lowercase letters has been converted to its uppercase form. So hello world 123 exclamation mark. So there is no presence of any lowercase characters in our upper method. And then I've got different method called title method and capitalize method. I wish you all to pay attention to this method because it will be quite confusing if you don't pay proper attention. So in the title method, the title method is a built-in string method where you convert a string to your title case. What do I mean by title case? So how do you write a title? So when you write a title, how do you write it? You convert the first letter to be capital and the rest to be your smaller letter. So no matter how long your title is, that is how you follow, right? So for example, let's say I want to write a text, okay? Frank, learn Python with Frank, okay? So this is my title. So this is how I write my title, right? So all the first letters to be capital. So L, P, W and F are capital, and rest everything is small letter. So earn, item, it and rank, all small letters. So this is what means by your title case. What are the key characteristics then? It will return a new string, and you all know the reason why. Because string is immutable, you cannot modify your original string. So you are returning a new string and you are not modifying or creating any changes in your original string. And when you use your title method, the new string is going to have all the title case formatting applied. So title case is like all the first letters of your word gets capitalized. Word definition. Words are generally considered to be sequence of alphabetical characters, right? What is a word? Word is like a sequence of characters, right? And any non-alphabetical characters like spaces, hyphens, numbers or symbols act as separators. So this is very important. So let's say I'm writing something like Python to Python, okay? 2 is a numerical form. So what my code would consider is that it would consider 2 as a separator. So let's read further what it does. So non-alphabetical characters act as separators, causing the character immediately following them to be treated as the start of a new word and thus capitalized. So whatever the letter that is coming after a separator or anything that is to be considered as a separator in your title method, that is spaces, hyphens, numbers or symbols, will be converted to its uppercase in its first letter. And after the initial character of your word, all the subsequent characters are converted to its lowercase format. So only the first letter of your word is capitalized and the rest are converted to its lowercase format. And then now let's see it in a practical example. Okay, so in here I've got a string, hello world. This is a test string with 123 number and hyphens. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm passing it to a new variable called title cased string, and then I'm applying my title method. So dot title method will impact the original string, but it doesn't perform original string modification because this is created into a new string. And now when I run this, you can see that all your first letters will be capitalized. So H, W, T, I, A, T, S, W, 1 to 3 are considered as a separator. So whatever is next, so numbers will be capitalized. So numbers N will be capitalized. And then you have got and, so A will be capitalized. And then you have to notice this because this is very important. After your and, okay, you can notice that I've got a symbol like a hyphen, right? So what happens is your Python code is going to consider that as a separator, so not as a one word, okay? And hyphens, it's not going to be considered as a one word, rather as it is a separator, it'll capitalize the first letter, the H, okay? So H is going to be in capital. Let's print this to check it out. Now if you see H is capitalized, world W is capitalized, this T is capitalized, is I is capitalized, A is capitalized, test T is capitalized, string S is capitalized, with W is capitalized, 1 to 3 it ignores it, numbers N is capitalized and A is capitalized. And this is very important. If you see, this is a separator and anything followed immediately will be capitalized, so dash hyphens. For example, let's say if I remove this and run it, it is not capitalized. But even if I use any kind of symbol, it will be capitalized. So let's test one more. Okay, let me try to add a string there or a quotation. Okay, a single quotation mark. Now if you see, even if it is a single quotation mark, okay, so let me print again. I'm just putting Frank's lessons. Let me put it in capitals so that you understand it better. So if you see here, I've got a mixed casing, right? Frank F is capital, I've got a single quote, then I mentioned S, L is capital, E is small, and rest everything is capital. Let's see what happens in this case. And when we try to run it, you can see that all my uppercase letters has been moved to a smaller case form. And then anything that is after my symbol, so it's an apostrophe, right? So after my apostrophe or a single quote, you can see that it treats as a separator, and anything followed by that, okay, the immediate next is capitalized as well. So if you're using the title method, be crucial to know the difference. All right, then you have got capitalized method. The capitalized method is built-in string method that returns a copy of the string with its first character capitalized and the rest of the characters converted to lowercase. So you might be wondering then what is the difference between the title method and capitalized method. In the title method, what's happening is you are introducing title case. So any first letter of your sequence get capitalized and anything followed by that will become a lowercase format. But in capitalized method, only the first letter of all your characters, okay, or in your sequence of all your characters, only the first letter gets capitalized and anything after that will remain as a lowercase format. So this is my method here, it's my syntax. So I pass it to my string. So this is the string I want to have a change. I'm using a dot notation, and then I'm using capitalize method. Does it take any parameters? No. The capitalize method does not take any parameters, and it is called straight on your string object. And what is the return value? It returns a new string with the first character in the uppercase and all other characters in lowercase. So even if you're giving a mixed case, it doesn't matter. So anything that is of uppercase apart from your first letter will become a lowercase. And if your first letter is of a lowercase, it will impact and it will change it to a uppercase. So let's see it with few examples. So in here, I've got everything to be a lowercase. So hello world is all lowercase. And now I'm using a capitalized method, and let's print it. You can see that my h, right? It is a lowercase h, but in here I've got an uppercase h. I have converted it. So I've capitalized my first letter, and everything remains to be a lowercase letter. Then in here I've got everything capital except is. So Python is fun. Python is all capital, fun is all capital, and is all small letter. When I try to run this, what is the expectation? I say that P remains capital, and apart from P, everything becomes small letter. Let's test it out. So as you can see here, it has capitalized my first letter P, and anything after that it has become a small letter. So Python is fun, except P, everything is small letter. And now let's try something. So I just introduced this to confuse you. Actually, it's not capitalized, right? I just mentioned already capitalized, but that is just a string, at the end of the day it's a string, so the content doesn't matter. So what would happen here again? So it's same as this. The first letter get capitalized, so already capitalized. I mean, though I mention it, the Python wouldn't understand that. All it takes is, okay, you have given me a sequence of character that is a string, and I'm going to perform the capitalize method on it. So A will be capitalized in this. Let's run it. So as you can see here, even if I mention Python is a programming language, it is not going to understand my English. So what it does is, no, it is not capitalized. And therefore, if you have used the capitalized method, I am going to do what I'm going to do. So I will change your small letter A to A capitalized because you have used capitalized method. And then in here, this is a bit tricky as well. I've got 1, 2, 3 example. So 1, 2, 3 is numeric form, and example is all lowercase. So when I'm trying to use dot capitalize method, what is your expectation? What would happen? You can drop your answers in the comment section. I can see them. So if you see here, 1, 2, 3 example. So E is followed after your numeric form. So even in your normal English form, after your initial 1, 2, 3 or your numeric form, you're not going to get it capitalized because you're starting with the numeric form, right? So now let me try to run it. So you can see that even if I pass it, even if it is the first character after my numeric form, it is not going to be converted. So it is just going to say 1, 2, 3 example. Because talking about capitalized, it is going to just turn the first character of my string to be capital, not anything followed after a numerical form. So numeric forms are not considered as a separator. And then strip method. Someone has dropped few questions. Shaksham Bhatia. Hello, Shaksham Bhatia. So what are you teaching, sir? I'm teaching strings method today. String and string methods. String is immutable in Python. Is that right? Yes, you're right. So you have answered it very right. Python is immutable. He asked me to reply. Yes, I've replied it now. Sorry, I didn't see it earlier. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop in the comment section. I'll answer them. Yeah. And then the strip method. So what is a strip method? So strip method in Python is a built-in string method that is used to remove unwanted characters from the beginning and end of your string. So what do you mean by unwanted characters? We will talk about it. But for now, I want you to know that it is going to strip, okay? So anything that is at the front of your sequence or anything that is trailing or at the end of your string, those characters will be removed, okay? The unwanted characters are removed. So after that, what it does, it returns a new string with the specified characters removed, and it does not modify the original string. So whatever the characters are removed, okay, the unwanted characters, that's what I mean. We will talk about the unwanted characters, but when it returns, it is going to return me a new string with all your unwanted characters removed from the leading and your trailing end. So it does not do in place modification. So what it means, you're going to get a new string with the modifications that you're expecting. Then the syntax. So the syntax is str. So str is any string, okay? The string where you need to perform your strip method. So string dot strip method, and then it has something called a chars or a character, whatever you want to name it, okay? We will see about the parameter now. So the string takes any string that you want to use your strip method on. So for example, let's say I have something called as original string. I can pass my original string here, okay? Because to my original string, I want to strip the characters. So I'll be getting it as a new string now. And I've got a parameter called chars, okay? This chars parameter is optional. So what happens when you specify your chars parameter? So whatever the chars or characters that I'm passing in my strip method, those characters will be removed from my set of string. So let's see in the code later. But what I'm trying to tell is whatever the characters that you're passing in your strip method, those particular characters are stripped or removed from your string. Functionality. So the default functionality of your strip method is that if you're not providing any parameter, because chars is an optional parameter, right? If you're not providing any argument or parameter, what it does is it will just remove all the leading and trailing white space characters. So what do I mean by white space? White space is just a space, okay? Just a space. So if you see here, in here I've got hello world, right? I've got white space at the front, right? Hello world, white space. And at the after exclamation mark, I've got 3 white spaces. So it's just white space. So if I don't provide what characters to be stripped off, the default behavior is to remove all the white space characters. So these include spaces. So talking about the white space characters, it can be spaces, tabs, new lines, and carriage returns. Okay, now let's see with the code implementation. I've created a new string with hello world. I've got 3 leading spaces and 3 trailing spaces next to the world exclamation mark. And then I've got a new line. I've indicated a new line as well. And now I'm not passing any characters in this. So we have to mention the characters in this, right? So I'm not mentioning any characters what to remove. And now it's all empty because this is optional. So I'm passing my string to a new string called clean string. So my string is where the operation needs to happen, and dot strip is the method, and it is going to go for the default behavior because I'm not providing any character. And when I print it, you can see that all the leading white spaces and all the trailing white spaces have been removed. So all the 3 spaces here, all the 3 spaces here, and the new line has been removed here. So now I can see that it has got hello world with all the leading and trailing spaces removed. So as I said earlier, White spaces also include all your spaces, tabs, new lines, and carriage returns. Okay, that is the default behavior. What if you want to remove only the specific character? If you want to remove a specific character, then you will use the characters parameter. Sorry. Okay. If you want to use this, then you will be using the characters or parameter as well. I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Okay. If the character's argument is provided, the strip method removes any character present in the cast string from both ends of the input string. It continues to remove characters from the ends as long as they match any character within the characters set. So this is some interesting or tricky, I would say. So what we are trying to convey is that first, any character you provide within your character's argument, those characters will be removed from the trailing and your leading end. All right, first thing. And second, whatever the characters that you're providing within your character set, those will be removed only from your leading and your trailing end, not from the middle. So let's say you mentioned the few characters, and when you mention those few characters, so it'll start removing from the very first end. Okay, the very first start. So eventually what happens is, let's say you are passing some character that is not part of the characters to be removed. What happens now is that your leading character removal gets stopped. Same with your trailing as well. So only if those character sets or in your characters to be removed, only those will continue. And if there is any interruption by any case letters that is not part of your character sets, will remain in your string. I mean, that could be a bit confusing, but now I'll explain it with the code. All right. Now I've got a data is equal to dash 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 python dash dash dash. So let me give you an example. Okay. If I don't provide any, if I don't provide clean data one, let's say data dot strip, the default behavior is to remove white spaces, right? And now I'm just trying to work it out. Okay, I'm just going to show an example. Now I'm just printing clean data one. Okay, so this is clean data one. When I run this, you can see that all my Python, the dash remains, right? Because the default only the white spaces get removed. The spaces, the tabs, the new lines, only those get removed. But this is still at the end of the day a character. So if I provide a default uh, syntax, it's not going to remove the trailing and the leading ends. So what I will do is I'll pass it into my characters parameter. Okay. So I'm passing my passing in a hyphen, right? Passing hyphen as the character to be removed. And now when I run this, you can see that my trailing and my leading end, in both places the hyphen has been removed. So I've got the Python here. And now pay attention to this because this is very interesting now. This is where it gets interesting, to be honest. So I've got another data A B C D E F F E D C B A. So it is just reversed, right? And now what I'm doing is I'm passing it to a new variable called strip data. I'm passing my original string and I'm using strip function. And I mentioned A, B, C, E. Can anyone take a guess what is going to happen now? Okay, Shaksham Bhatia has few questions for us. What is in place modification? So in place modification is, let's say, uh, let's say I have a string. Okay, in place modification is when I try to perform a method on this. Okay, x dot upper. Okay, If you see here, this is my string, right? X is equal to Frank. And what I'm doing to that string, I'm performing an upper function. So what does an upper function do? The upper function is going to alter your existing string. So all this lowercase must be actually represented as capital form, right? As a Frank. But strings are immutable, which means that your original string cannot be modified once you have created them. So even when I apply an upper function, it doesn't get modified. So when I print it, it is just giving Frank. So what you can do is instead, you pass it into a new variable. So y is equal to x dot upper. And now when I print y, you can see that the modification is applicable to only your new string, not your existing string. So only if your original string is modified, then you would get Frank. But what has happened here? Your Frank, which is your original string, is not modified, right? It's okay. I think you can understand it. So Frank, my original string is not modified, but whatever my new string is, those get modified. So you can see here Frank with all capital letter. So this is what I mean by in place modification. Do not worry, Shaksham, do follow the video. Soon I'll be placing these nodes into my GitHub or LinkedIn, so you can access them at any time. I'll share the link as well, okay? So this is what in place modification is. Output is wrong. Which output is wrong? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but that's fine. We'll continue to the video. So this is very interesting. If you have any doubts, we will talk after seeing these three. So I've got another data A, B, C, D, E, F, F, E, D, C, B, A. And if I am stripping A, B, C, E, print Y is right. What is wrong? So for the Y, I've used x dot upper function. So upper function is going to be taken place in your Y variable. Therefore, when you print it, it is becoming capital. So the original string is immutable. Yes, string is immutable, right? You're right. String is always immutable. That's what. So when you are creating a string, you are creating a modification. You're not creating you're not making any changes after you create your string. So if I have x is original string, right? So to my original string, I cannot do any modification. So that's what we saw earlier. So when I try to say x dot upper, it didn't change anything because it is immutable. And then I'm creating a new string called y, which is going to have the upper case format for my x variable, so Frank. So when I'm creating a new string, I can make the changes straight away. But once the string is created, you cannot change. So for example, even in the same example, let's say I have y dot, if I say y dot lower, will it change? Will it change? No, it is not going to change because I've created a string saying capital letters Frank. So x dot upper is the created one. So you're not going to have any kind of change to it. So once you have created a string, you cannot expect to have any changes. So that's what I mean by immutable. No changes are applicable once you create your string. Okay, we'll talk about this three first. If you have any doubts, we will talk further. So I've gotten another data here, A, B, C, D, E, F, F, E, D, C, B, A. I want to remove the following characters, A, B, C, E. And what is your expected output? What do you think, even what will be the output? Feel free to comment, I'll have a look on it. So I've got a string, I'm stripping. So stripping is removing basically, and I want to remove A, B, C, E. What is your expected output? If you say that you're going to have D, F, F, D, then you're wrong. Why is that? I'll print it and show it to you. So if you see here, I've got D, E, F, F, E, D and not D, F, F, D. Why is that? So yeah, that is a wrong answer. Yeah, okay. That is wrong because I mentioned A, B, C, E, right? So first it checks for A. So that is there, it gets removed. Let me write it here. So if you see here, first it checks for A, B, C, E. So A is there, it gets removed. Then it checks for B. So the trailing end. So sorry, it's a leading end. So B gets removed now. Next it checks for C or A, B, C, E. C is present, C gets removed. And now when it's trying to check for A, B, C, E, it has got D. Is D present? It is not present in the characters that needs to be removed. So what happens is all your characters to be cut off get stopped in. So only ABC is removed, and same for your trailing end as well. So A gets removed, B gets removed, C gets removed. D will not get removed because you haven't represented that in your characters to be removed. So whatever is within that particular sequence gets printed. So only ABC and CBA gets removed. All right. And now we will see a further example. Now I've got another data, same sequence, A, B, C, D, E, F, F, E, D, C, B, A. I'm passing it to a new string called stripped data. And then now I want to remove A, B, C, D. And now what is your answer for this? So what is your expected output for this? So A gets removed, B gets removed, C gets removed, D gets removed. Same at your trailing end as well. So the output would be E, F, F, E. Let's run it. If you got this right, yes, you are right. And then I've got the same sequence, A, B, C, D, E, F, F, D, E, C, B, A. And now I want to remove A, B, C, E. What is your answer again? So if you say, so we have to just go by order, okay? A gets removed, B gets removed, C gets removed, and D, it is not part of our character. So it stops there. So it is going to give us the same output as before. So your answer would be, anyone in the comment section wants to answer for that? Please pay attention to your trailing end because I've got A, B, C, E. So when I run this, you can see that it has removed deft. Why is that? Because after D, you're not going to have any characters removed. And if you consider from A, B, C, A gets removed, B gets removed, C gets removed, E gets removed, because those characters are present in this, and anything apart from that gets added. Okay, you're almost there, but at the end you have to remove all the ECBA. All right. So A, B, C. So A gets removed because A is present. B gets removed because B gets is present in your characters. C gets removed and E gets removed as well. These four characters are present in here. And at the same at the front, you get A, B, C, You don't have E, so you're not going to get it removed. So the expected output is this. Sequence is not matching, sir. Sequence doesn't matter. Sequence doesn't get matter. Let's run one more to understand better. Okay, I've added few C's. And now I want to remove the same A, B, C, E. When I run this, you can see that the sequence are not matching. But the thing that we are trying to learn in here is you're not going to remove based on sequence, but whatever characters are present in this are going to be removed. It is not about sequence. It is about the characters that you provide. Those characters get removed. So if you see here, A is present, yes, it gets removed. B is present, removed. C is present, it gets removed. But once D comes, your removal efficiency gets stopped because it is not specified in your characters. Unless you have specified it here, anything within your end is going to remain the same. Maybe you are a bit confused. uh, I'll try to explain it with the white space. It'll be better for you. Let's say I've got space there, I've got space here, I've got space at the center, I've got space at the end. Okay, and let's go for the default behavior. If I don't provide anything, it is going to remove all the spaces, right? And now when I run this, I think now it is very clear for you. I want to remove spaces, right? You might be wondering why it didn't remove the space here. You might be wondering why the space in here hasn't been removed. The reason is very simple, because strip will remove only the spaces from the leading end and your trailing end. So all the spaces from the start and your end has been removed, but not any spaces once the sequence has stopped cutting off the characters. So it hasn't removed A, right? So once there is no space, it is not going to remove any characters in between. So they all are going to remain intact, and anything after that gets removed. So is that clear, Shaksham? I hope this should make sense now. Okay. And now here are the key things that you need to know before we end up this session. So strip method only affects the leading and trailing characters. So you have to understand this. It is not going to see any sequence or any pattern. It is just going to affect only the leading and trailing end. So anything in between is not going to get affected. And it does not remove characters from the middle of your string. So that's what I've been trying to tell you. So when I try to remove the white spaces here, it didn't remove anything from the center. It just removed whatever is at your trailing and your leading end. It returns a new string and does not modify the original string in place. So what I'm trying to tell, so if I print my original string, it gives my original string as well. So it is not going to modify my original string. So here is my original string, and here is my newly created string that has the modification in it. And then talking about your strip method, you have two more methods within the strip method, the L strip method and your R strip method. So your L strip method is going to remove all the leading characters, and your R strip is going to remove all the trailing characters. All right, I hope that is very clear. Shaksham, do you have doubts still, or shall I end up this session now? So before we finish, let me give you a quick summary. So we learned what is a string, what are the characteristics of a string, how to create a string. And once we learned how to create a string, we learned about the most common or a standardizing principle called upper method and lower method. So in lower method, you're going to convert all your uppercase letters to your lowercase format. Okay, and it will ignore any non-case letters. So it is applicable to only those letters where you have your lowercase. So anything that is of uppercase will get converted into your lowercase format in your lower method, and anything that is of lowercase will be converted to your upper method in your upper method. And then in title method, you're going to imply title method. So title case. So what is the title case? Any first letter of your sequence of character is going to be capitalized, and anything apart from your first letter gets your lower letter. So for example, Franklin is a tutor. So Franklin F is going to be capitalized. Anything apart from that is lower letter. Is I is going to get capitalized. Your Y is going to get capitalized. Tutor T is going to get capitalized. Anything apart from the first letter of your word is going to be of a lower letter. And capitalized method, it is you need to understand the difference between the title method and capitalized method. In capitalized method, in all of your sequence, it's not just a word, all of your sequence, only the first letter gets capitalized, and not it does not affect all the first letters of your word. All right. In the strip method, you remove all the trailing and your leading end characters. So anything that is unwanted character or that you specify, those characters will be removed from your trailing and your leading end. So I hope this session was very useful to you all. Do stay tuned, because we are covering up, further. We have a lot of methods within the string basically. So we'll be covering those lessons tomorrow. So if you haven't clicked the bell button, feel free to link it up so that you don't miss on any updates. So before we finish, who are we? We are Data Valley, the fastest growing edtech company of 2025. And we have our headquarters in US, UK, and UAE as well. And we have got 4 branches in Hyderabad as well. So if you are anywhere around, feel free to check out, and you can reach out to our colleagues. They'll be very humble enough to help you. You might be in a different stages of your life, your career, or you might be a consultant, or you might be in your learning phase. Do not worry, we are here to help you. So feel free to check out on our website. If you like this session, do drop a like, and if you have any questions, drop it in your comment section. I will try to address it in the forthcoming videos. So this is Franklin signing off. Thank you all again. I hope you all have a very good day. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.